working around the clock. So, but anyways, we're excited, obviously here today to talk a little bit about the Outback Bowl, but excited to be a part of the 30th anniversary Outback Bowl. And Jim McVeigh and the Tampa Bay Bowl Association, would like to thank them, but also our administration for doing such a great job. And University of Tennessee is back to being a commodity when it comes to bowl games, and that's a tribute to our players, to our entire football organization, and our entire athletic department. So obviously we're excited. It's kind of a balancing act right now, in terms of recruiting and finishing in up final exams, in trying to balance this recruiting class, and then our players will have off this week to excel in the classroom. Then we'll get back to really more bowl preparation this weekend. So what I can tell you is I'm very familiar with Coach Fitzgerald. Pat's done a tremendous job there. As you all know, 10-2 football team, won their last 5 games, ranked in the top 15 in every major defensive category that's out there. That'll make, I think this year we've faced 5 out of the top 9 defenses in the country. They're the least penalized team in the Big Ten, which tells you about their discipline as a football team and a football program. They start 11 seniors, and they're the 12th ranked football team in the country. So another great challenge. But again, we're just ecstatic and excited to be playing in the Outback Bowl. So I'll answer any questions you may have.
Start with Mike Strange, and Austin and Jimmy.
Butch, I think 3 years ago today you were being introduced. What do you remember about that day, and just what do you summarize the journey from that day to this day?
A whirlwind. Had just won a conference championship at the University of Cincinnati and had a lot of great relationships there, and still do. And everything was accelerated from a long night in Lexington, Kentucky, to finishing up at about 4:30 in the morning and having to go back and tell a football program and a football team that you were leaving, and then going home and showering and getting on a plane and coming to Knoxville. But it's been a great journey. This is a very, very special place. Proud of everything that we're building here. About 15 pounds overweight from that 3-year span, so I'm working on getting that back. But just proud of what we've been able to accomplish here. Proud of our players. We have a long ways to go, but it's been a very fulfilling 3 years and a very fast 3 years.
But you've gotten, everybody talks about these 15 practices being big for the younger guys, but for the current team, for this team trying to go to Tampa and win a bowl game, how important are the practices here before you go to Tampa? First of all,
most of our young players are already playing. So we're still not in our football program where, I believe we're redshirting, I don't know the exact number, 5 to 7 players. Where most programs, they're redshirting 15, maybe 17, 18 players. So still our youngsters are playing. Some of our youngsters are injured. But it is a balancing act of, getting your youth development that you need, and then also getting your football team prepared to play a bowl game and play winning football. We'll take the first couple days and do all of the above. It's a balancing act, but they are very, very big, not just from on the field, but in the strength and conditioning area, having those extra days to get in the weight room, and I think just the chemistry of your football team as well. So there's a lot that goes into bowl preparation, but first and foremost is doing whatever it takes to win the bowl game. In our preparation and understanding the importance, you try to get most of your work done here before you venture to the bowl site.
Jimmy Hines, and West, and Michael Spencer.
Butch, a couple questions. One is, why did you visit Northwestern as a staff recently? What was it about that program that made you want to visit them? And secondly, what makes Northwestern's defense so good?
First of all, the first question, in the off season, you're trying to reach out to different football programs that kind of match your style of play or your philosophy, programs that you respect, that have won over a period of time, and you like what they do. And Fitz has done a great job there of developing and building that program at a high level of consistency. And it was just getting together, which we always do with a number of institutions, a number of schools, and just talking football and having our own mini clinic. And Mick McCall does a great job. Their offensive coordinator, have a lot of respect for him. Have known him for a very long time. In terms of defensively, they're very active. It starts with their front seven. Their defensive line and their linebackers are as good as any team we've seen all year. They're very active, they're disruptive, and they do a good job at the back end of their defense. They create one-on-one matchups. They can win one-on-one matchups. They're aggressive, and they have a great style of play about them.
Wes, then Michael Spencer, then Seth, then John Bryce.
Which obviously it's, I guess, silly season now for college football coaches, and things have been actually quiet here for a change. Have you been contacted about any of your guys to this point, about any of your assistants?
Well, it's not my job to speculate on, other programs, job openings and all that. I'll just say this is I deem it when, institutions, if they do want to inquire about our coaches, that is a compliment. That's a compliment to what we're building here. And we have very good football coaches and even better individuals. So again, people understand around the country what we've done here in a very short period of time and how far we've come, and it garners notice across the country. But in terms of the speculation, that's not my place.
Well, I guess if you didn't field any phone calls during an off season, would you have to do a double take and wonder kind of what staff you had at that point? Because it seems like everybody calls everybody these days.
Well, they do, but also there's a lot of great football coaches out there that unfortunately, have not won a lot, and that's why, when you look at whether you're hiring a coach or whether you're researching individuals, do they do more with less? How are they as a person, as a teacher, as a communicator, as a recruiter? So, a lot of people look at end results, and it's a result-oriented business that we're in, but there's a lot of good football coaches out there that just need an opportunity as well.
Michael Spencer.
Coach, when you look back on last year's trip to the bowl game and how it kind of put things in a positive spin heading into the offseason and into this season, how important is it to kind of continue that, and what can you take away from last year's bowl trip and use in this year's bowl trip?
Anytime you finish the season with a victory, particularly in a bowl game, lends itself to a lot of momentum moving forward, a lot of energy. So obviously that's very important. We're going to be challenged again. They're the 12th ranked team in the country for a reason. And I think it's the maturity of a football team. I believe they have 11 starters that are seniors. So they've been to a number of bowl games where this will only be, half of our team's second bowl trip. And it comes down to the maturity of a football team. Can you manage the clutter, the distractions that a great bowl game brings about? Do you have the self-discipline to do what it takes to get yourself mentally and physically ready to perform, to play winning football on January 1st? All those things that went into it. Last year's football team defined that. They went down to Jacksonville with a purpose to win the football game. And yeah, you're going to have good times and enjoy your teammates, but it's like I tell them, you don't remember those, you remember the game. The game lives with you forever. And you rehearse that game over and over in your mind all the time. And you have to rely on the maturity, and you have to rely on your leadership.
Seth, then John Bryce, Steve, John Adams, Austin Courtney, and one more.
From a recruiting standpoint, just how big is it for the second year in a row to be in a January bowl game in the state of Florida?
Very big. When you've followed up again with another January bowl game in the state of Florida, it's big. It's progress. It points towards the progress that we're making here. It points towards a lot of things. So it is a great selling point. Again, this will be our 51st bowl game as a football program. I believe we're the fourth program in the country of most bowl appearances, and we take great pride in that. But it is great for recruiting and the excitement that it brings along. Playing at the noon slot, is great as well. And then anytime you can go to a great bowl game like the Outback Bowl, it shows the progress that you're making.
John Bryce and Steve.
Butch, a little bit more on how you structured last year and going into this year, the fact that you guys did play so effectively, how much do you try to keep that the same versus how much do you tweak it, I guess?
Every team is different. They have a different personality. They have different leadership. So obviously you look back, but it's kind of a formula we've had for a number of years of going to bowl games. So we'll look at that. We'll follow the blueprint, but we'll tweak it, to the needs of this current Team 119. We'll tweak it towards what this football team needs, but there is a blueprint in place.
And then sort of following up on Wes's question, there are published reports that Zach specifically is a candidate at Maryland. Have you spoken with Zach about that?
I speak to all our coaches all the time, and everything, if they can make themselves better in the profession and for their families, very, very supportive. But again, there's a lot of speculation out there, and anybody can guess and be right. And that's the thing is, if there are reports, if there are tweets, stand behind what you say. But Zach is a very, very gifted football coach, along with all of our coaches, and I expect people to come after our coaches. That's what we want. Just like we spoke with Wes, that means we're doing great things, and they want the Tennessee brand, they want the Tennessee product, and all the great things that are going on here in building a football team and a football program.
Steve, then John Adams, and Austin Price, and Courtney, and one more.
You talked last week about having kind of recruit your own players as well as the high school guys out there. I was checking to see if there is any news on that front, if anybody has indicated plans to leave, and if there's any update on the Midget front as well regarding the bowl game or anything.
Kurt Midget, no update there. And in terms of the follow-up question from last week, I believe it was, is that's just the world of college football. Transition's going to happen. And that's just part of it. And it's the world that we live in. It's instant gratification. It's if they can better themselves, I said, well, we'll support them. But, not as of right now. But as you know, it's kind of become the norm in college football.
John Adams, and Austin.
Plus, there's a perception when a Big Ten team plays an SEC team that the SEC team has an advantage in speed. You might not see that stereotype when it's Ohio State and Alabama, but just in general, do you think you guys have an advantage in speed over Northwestern?
I don't. They're 10-2 for a reason. They've won 5 games for a reason. There's a reason why they're the 12th ranked football team in the country. I do. I think sometimes that's way blown out of proportion. They're a very, very good football team. They're very well coached. They're going to challenge us schematically in all 3 phases. They're really good in the return game as well on special teams. And again, this is a football team that knows how to win. You just don't beat Stanford if you don't have team speed. So they have very, very good team speed. I think they're a complete football team. I've tried to spend most of the morning, working on that. But again, it's a balancing act as I'll leave today to go recruiting. But they're a very talented football team, and it's going to take all that we have and more so.
Austin, then Courtney, and we'll finish with Jimmy Himes.
Butch, Kyler talked about a couple of weeks ago how important it was to get back to a bowl game and get that feeling again of winning one. How much do you lean on, not necessarily him just because he's a senior, but the other veteran guys, even if they're sophomores that have played a lot of football? And what was kind of that message to them as a team meeting yesterday when you kind of announced to them we're going to Jacksonville?
Tampa.
Sorry.
That's all right. That was one of the most rewarding things of being here, is being able to gather the football team up in the locker room. A little bit different setting than last year, and be able to tell them that we were going to be able to play in the 30th anniversary of the Outback Bowl in Tampa, Florida. And just seeing the excitement on the kids, it's been a different mentality. Our kids knew what was at stake towards the tail end of the season. They knew that they were, fighting for relevance in terms of the bowl games, and they knew that. And this is probably the most questions, the most excitement I've seen in a football team of where we were going. So again, I think that's a byproduct of last year's experience, and we'll rely on that. We had very good practices here in Knoxville. We had a very determined football team going to Jacksonville, and a very focused football team. And we'll rely on those experiences. But as we know, teams change, and it comes down to the leadership, which Kyler and a lot of the seniors, and you even mentioned some younger players that still have valuable experience, that will lend to that cause.
We'll finish with Jimmy Himes in the front here.
Which, what would be the benefits to finishing the season with a win and being ranked in the top 25?
Anytime you're ranked is big, and you don't want to make, obviously this game is very, very important, but we've had a very rewarding season. We've had the highs and the lows, we experienced the adversities that a long season brings about, but I think the resiliency that our players have shown, the resiliency that this football program has shown, the resiliency of our loyal fan base, of staying the course and sticking together and being positive when we could have all turned negative. And you always want great expectations in your football program, but you know how far we've come in a very short period of time when you look at a lot of firsts since the early 2000s, the 2007, 2008 era. It's been a long time, and we need to step back and be thankful and grateful for everything that's going on here. And things just don't happen overnight, but they're happening at a rapid pace. I firmly believe that. But there is something to be about having the momentum of winning and getting a ninth win and being ranked in the top 25. But regardless of that, no bowl game will change how far this football program and this football team has come in a very short period of time of 3 years.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day.